Hey guys. I made a video a while back called A Pessimistic Chat, in which I discussed my mindset before marriage and motherhood and how I feel about the state of the world. It was pretty dark, but since I made that video, I haven't really been able to lift myself out of that mindset. Especially these last few months, I've had a really hard time making a video unless I truly feel that it conveys important information. It'd be better for my channel's growth if consistency were the goal, but I've scrapped probably 4 substandard scripts this week just because I feel like they're filler and I'd rather deliver something valuable to you. It occurred to me that the value here is in the midst of the struggle that I'm having. I worked in finance, several high-pressure jobs that were incompatible with having children. The struggle that I was having then was that success in these fields translates directly into the adoption of masculine traits. Jordan Peterson discusses this all the time, your level of agreeableness. I've also discussed it many times. There was a video that I made called Advice for Young Ladies, I believe, where I talk about my beloved Ann Coulter and her naturally low level of agreeableness. I said then, and I would still agree with my stance on this, that her work served society better than had she forced herself into motherhood, irrespective of her natural set of traits. I'm also low on agreeableness, probably not as low as Anne, but this did draw me to cutthroat academic and professional fields, which were at odds with my more feminine traits. As I got deeper into that work, I realized that there wasn't room or time to develop the more feminine aspects of myself while trying to be successful in my career. All of that energy had to go to the adoption of more masculine traits, and it just crowds out everything else. So eventually I transitioned into this work, which initially was just a hobby and an outlet, and eventually became a full-time job. I thought that because I was choosing my own content, this would be unlike other professions, and largely it has been. Someone sent me this response video from a very mannish, high-tea, staunch egalitarian regarding my video from a year or so back about how to red pill women. I've linked her video below, but full disclosure, I didn't make it through more than a few minutes because it seemed to be mostly about how it made her feel and the typical grad student intellectual masturbation that you would expect. But it still made me realize something about why I'm feeling burned out despite not releasing a ton of content. I did rewatch my own video as a result, and I stand by pretty much everything except for my eyeliner. I realized that I've inadvertently put myself in another career that has little room for me to develop my femininity, and in order to be successful, forces me to adopt masculine traits. I think I've harbored some lingering relics of my youthful feminism, or at a minimum, egalitarianism, which I did not realize because I apply this term nearly exclusively to interactions between the genders. But what about our internal struggle between masculinity and femininity? Yes, we all have traits that we're born with, but we use our observed strengths to ascend to higher goals throughout our growth. And the cost of that is that we neglect the development of our other potential traits. Only a fool would think that experience has no influence on outcome. I don't really think that's a bad thing. People tend to enjoy doing the things that they're good at, and they shouldn't force themselves to adopt traits that are wholly unnatural. But this is absolutist thinking. Most people, like me, have contradictory traits, one which is slightly stronger than the other. So in my case, since I've always been low on agreeableness, was it wise for me to choose careers that compounded what are generally viewed as negative traits for women? I would say that these were unwise decisions for me to make. I likely would have been better off accepting that I needed to have children to be truly fulfilled, which is the case with most women, and to try to minimize my masculine traits and bolster my feminine ones. That being said, this wouldn't have been a massive personality-destroying mission, since both traits existed within me in unequal but substantial parts. In the case of this chick that did the response video, or other women that are very, very masculine or low in agreeableness like Ann Coulter, fighting against these instincts may be a personality and identity-destroying mission, which I wouldn't want people to embark on. Improving yourself to be a better representation of women is one thing, but if you simply cannot do it, like I doubt she can, you also cannot be fighting against yourself for your whole life. Karen Strawn is an absolute favorite of mine, and she does not embody traditional gender roles, but has done more for gender relations than anyone else on YouTube. Would I want her to start wearing makeup and dresses, grow her hair out? No, I don't care about any of that, and those would be immaterial gestures because her contributions have been invaluable. She was one of the first people that drew me into YouTube. I watched every video she had made and nervously sent her my first video before I posted it a few years back. She gave me wonderful, heartfelt advice in a long email that she did not need to write to me, and I appreciate that to this day. What I'm saying is that as a society on the whole, we've taken self-acceptance too far. I see fat, blue-haired feminists every single day. I do not believe that this is the natural state of being for all of these women. I think, like me, they made life decisions that bolstered negative personality traits and paired with completely unrestrained social acceptance, which is a relatively new phenomenon. They never even bothered to nurture positive feminine traits. Those are the women that I really am speaking to. Brittany Pettibone came to visit the other day, and we had a really interesting discussion about this job and how it might be incompatible with the development of positive female traits, paradoxically the kind that I encourage in women. I do fairly often get messages from girls saying that they want to do this, and I explain to them that while it's important for young women to have positive role models, and there is a need for women in this realm, it has a grave personal impact unless you're already somewhat cynical. Dave Cullen made an excellent video the other day that I've linked below about the costs of being a YouTuber. There is a lot of social isolation. You have to harden yourself to criticisms, which are often cutting, deeply personal, and sometimes directed towards the people that you love that did not ask for this. And hardening yourself to be able to deflect media attacks and personal criticisms, this forces you to develop a necessary level of cynicism. You become jaded, your worldview darkens. How long can women who typically have more fragile egos do this before their cynicism and low agreeableness totally crowd out the feminine qualities that I tout? It forces me into a position of hypocrisy, and I feel like I am right there on the cusp. And this is really what I'm facing right now. It's been fine for me to be cold, cynical, angry for the last year or so while my fiance's been deployed. It's also been fine for me to be socially isolated and to draw from the ire of living in this feminist hellscape. But the second he gets back, which is in just a few weeks, being like this is going to start negatively impacting my relationship. It isn't who I am yet, but if I keep doing this, it will be. I've often thought, is this job making me a better person? I would have to say yes to that. Then I think, is it going to make me a better wife, a better mother? And to that, I have to say no. I love doing this channel. I don't regret it. It's brought me so much joy and personal satisfaction. But I have to find a way to balance the nurturing aspect of my spirit and my more maternal qualities because we're about to start a family. And that will be the top priority for the rest of my life. I don't want to bring all of this anger and cynicism into my home after spending years talking about the valuable qualities of femininity. I think the best way to do that would be to shift some of my subject matter to less cumbersome topics. My last 10 videos or so have been really, really heavy. I don't want to turn into some crappy response channel or someone that never discusses anything important, but it's time for me to walk the walk. I've been doing this for years and I feel emotionally depleted and so ready to start this new chapter of my life. But I really would love to find a way to do both so long as it doesn't diminish my home life. And if things continue as they are, I know that it will. Let me know if you have any ideas for keeping this channel alive while reducing the kind of content that's going to deepen this cynicism. I'm in a bind. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in a few days. Bye.